On today's Lockedon Texans podcast, we'll discuss the first team offense, moving the ball, John Metchie's first career TD, the wide receiver forward conversation should now be put to rest, a little bit of Kenyon Green's redemption against the New York Giants, but why the Houston Texans should now consider making a change at the running back 2 position.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers, to this Monday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you to all of our first-time listeners and viewers. If this is your first time in our house, we ask 3 favors. You don't got to take your shoes off. You ain't even got to bring no party gifts. Just subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you to all of our everydayers from the Himalayas coming back to continue to listen to John Hickman, myself, and Big Sarge on the other side of the screen. Talk Texans. I'm your Texans football analyst, John, some sports guy Hickman. And again, on the other side of the screen, filling in for Cody Davis, Brian, Big Sarge, Bearfield. Sarge, what's going on?
Man, look, I'm just glad to be here. I'm just glad to be in the service. Ain't that what they say when they go to church?
That's
just
what
glad
they
to
say.
be in the service.
And we gonna talk a little bit of church today because I think
sure.
the Houston Texans offense and defense, which we'll get into on tomorrow's episode, but they blessed the New York Giants defensively, winning that game 28-10. I want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. We're going to have a rapid fire question segment at the end of today's show to just throw out some questions to Big Sarge, kind of get a feel, check his temperature on some things that's floating around the Houston Texans, some very big storylines, rather, that you could probably say surrounding the Houston Texans. Akers shines. British Brooks shines. Jawar Jordan shines. J.J. Taylor shines. Dameon Pierce, unfortunately, declines. So we're going to talk about that running back position. We got to have a maybe uncomfortable conversation, but it should not be uncomfortable at this point considering the team that's been put together. But we're going to open up today's episode just kind of looking at the first team offense, and we're going to get into John Metchie. Before I give it over to you, Sarge, I do want to let the listeners know the Texans beat the New York Giants 28-10. Really suffocating day from both the offense and the defense. The Texans offensively converted 7 out of 13 attempts on third downs, scored on 3 of the 4 red zone trips, 2 from rookie British Brooks out of the backfield. And at the end of the first quarter, where the Texans offense had their starters out on the field, at the end of that first quarter, under C.J. Stroud, 15 plays, 6.3 yards per play. Didn't get a score in, but man, did they really move the ball. So, Sarge, I want to open it up with you. Just what was some of the things that you saw from that first team offense that made you sit back and say, you know what? We talked all summer about this team being a top 5 offense in the NFL. They actually got a shot to do it.
Well, first of all, let me say this, man. Now that, because Cody ain't here, so I'm putting my feet up on the coffee table. I'm just letting you know that right now with my shoes on.
The Rick James on Dave Chappelle, foot on the couch.
For sure. What I seen, though, John, was something that I had been noticing now that the entire offensive line unit has got back together. And I know that they were without Laramie Tunsil and Blake Fisher filled in for Laramie Tunsil at the left tackle position. And you know what? It's so crazy because first preseason home game, first time that the fans are getting a chance to see, their team back at home. And hey, Blake Fisher gave them exactly what they're used to seeing, a false start at left tackle.
Yeah.
But I was happy to see that, on the other part of the line, though, with them all playing together for the first time, with Titus Howard at the right tackle, Shaq Mason at left guard, Juice Scruggs at center, and Kenyon Green at the left guard position. I like the fact that they gave CJ enough time. Yeah. Throughout training camp, it was hard to get acclimated because they were not together as a cohesive unit. So CJ was being pressured a lot. On top of the fact that offense coordinator Bobby Sloak was putting him in position to say, hey, look, I know that guy may be open, but you can't throw to that guy. You can't throw to this guy. You got to throw to the third read or sometimes the fourth read. And so it was something that I wasn't used to seeing CJ hold on to the ball, but they were trying to teach him how to not only go through the reads, but become uncomfortable. They made him become uncomfortable because he can definitely read defenses. They just wanted to put him in an uncomfortable position. You put him into the game last week against Pittsburgh. You put him into the game this week against the New York Giants. And one thing that I seen was he was comfortable. Like the way that he navigated that offense on that first drive, he was comfortable. And not only was he comfortable, now you're looking at this team with the wide receivers, and you got Tank getting open. You got Nico getting open. You got Stephon getting open. And then there's a lot of, he has to get the ball around to a lot of receivers, but then you also remember he got to feed Dalton Schultz too, like he did. So I was very impressed by the line play. I was very impressed about CJ Stroud's poise in the pocket, and I was very impressed by him being able to get the ball to all of the wide receivers. That catch that Nico made was very, very good. So that's what really impressed me about that first team offense.
I know for me, when I looked at the first team offense, I gotta highlight that offensive line. So thank you for doing that. And I started this off by saying, Kenyon Green's redemption. If you guys remember, and I believe that was in NRG his rookie year. If not, but that matchup between Dexter Lawrence and Kenyon Green his rookie year, and he got worked. He got destroyed. That was when he was number 59. Now he's 76.
Yes.
And he's put on some more weight. And he's got older. And he's matured a little bit. And he's went through a full offseason in the NFL. And he looked good. And he made some plays that, you mentioned giving CJ the time that he needed. He made some plays to help give him that time.
Yeah.
And the communication and the chemistry between himself and Juice Scruggs has been beautiful to see. Now, when I also look at their first team offense, on that first drive, 4 different receivers caught the ball. And it was easy for CJ to just sit back and say, you get the ball. Yeah. You get the ball.
You get a car.
You get it. Threading the needle to hit Stephon Diggs for 9 yards. Excuse me. So you just see the offense. When you say they got a 5-headed monster, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
They really do. And Joe Mixon wasn't out on the field. We'll talk about the running back position and how Houston desperately needs to get Joe Mixon out on that field to help this offense out. But you just see how Houston is working each and every talented pass catcher. A stick route from Dalton Schultz, picking up easy yards after a penalty. So pushing Houston back, just kind of getting some of those yards back. A stick route, Brevin Jordan. You get down the field, play action bootleg to Brevin Jordan again. He's picking up 9 yards, almost 10. I think it was that led it to, I think, second in inches. Just the amount of weapons that this team has and how easily, because we've seen quarterbacks have weapons in the past, but how easily it was for CJ to kind of sit back and pick his poison. Now, yes, they didn't come away with any points. Houston went forward on the 4th down.
I like that aggressive move too.
I loved it. It's preseason. We're not playing for a championship right now in this game. We're going up against a team that has no real playoff aspirations, and by God, does Daniel Jones look terrible. So I can't wait for you to come back on Tuesday's show. We can talk about how stifling that defense was. Jalen Petrie was all over the field. Derek Stingley and the plays that he made, but just giving them an opportunity to say, at some point during the regular season, we're going to be in this position. What play are we going to go to? How comfortable are we going to look when we got to pick up a first down and it's 4th and whatever it was? Ball was batted down, I believe, but I think what we're going to see differently from this year compared to last year is just Bobby just said, I got the guys, I got the pieces, I have full trust in my quarterback, and he kind of ended the season off like that, but he didn't have a Diggs, didn't have Tank Dell to end the season off, didn't have
Noah Brown wasn't there.
Noah Brown. So the issues at the end of the season had offensively, all the trust was in CJ. The rest of the pieces weren't there.
Yeah.
Now they got those pieces, and it's just good to see CJ just kind of pick his poison. I got you. I got you. Everybody's going to eat today.
Yeah, and I wanted to piggyback off something that you said earlier, John, when we are talking about Kenyon Green. I think that what has helped Kenyon a whole lot is the fact that head coach D'Amico Ryans, offense coordinator Bobby Slowick, offensive line coach Chris Strasser put a lot of confidence in him, telling him, hey, you didn't lose your position, you just got hurt. Right. You got injured. You missed a season. So you didn't lose your position because of performance. You lost your position. Well, I'm sorry. You didn't play at your position last year because you were hurt. So when you come back, we're going to put you right back in your position to see what you look like. We're not going to take that position away from you unless you do not perform on the field. And that was one of the biggest things that Kenyon Green could have asked for. Just have confidence in me and let me show you how good I am. Let me show you why I was drafted where I was drafted. Put me back on the field. Put me back with that first unit. Because the one thing that he said after the Pittsburgh Steelers game, when I got a chance to talk to him, was I felt good being with the ones. And when you have a player with his type of talent, when you have a player who's looking to come back and who has a point to prove, putting him in that position builds that confidence. And especially with, like we said earlier, he worked out this offseason with Juice Scruggs. That continuity that those two have is beautiful. And so just that confidence that was instilled in him by the organization, I think that that's what's pushing him forward and taking him to that next level.
You talk about continuity. Let's transition over really quick to John Metchie. 7 targets, 6 catches, 62 yards, 1 TD, 68 yards, 1 TD, along of a 19-yard catch. The conversation of, oh my gosh, Houston should trade John Metchie, cut bait, move on from him. Will he even make the roster? I thought was ridiculous this entire time because I know what I'm seeing. I got 4 eyes. I'm not out there as much as you are, so I'm going to kind of lean on you with this one. But continuity is important. You go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers game. He had a drop pass. He caught one, but in the 2 preseason games, 4 targets, and everybody was kind of losing their mind. Now, in this game, 7 targets in 1 game, 6 catches, no Davis Mills, and you see more of the continuity there between John Metchie and Case Keenum. So before we close out, this segment, I want to say just personally before I get back to you, John Metchie, I believe, is this team's wide receiver 4. It has nothing to do necessarily with his relationship with C.J. Stroud, though I do believe that helps in terms of confidence in a player-to-player relationship on the field, in the action, but he can get open. The separation is there. He has the tools to not only be this team's wide receiver 4 this year, but as we have conversations off screen, potentially wide receiver 3 next year because the contract situation with Stephon Diggs is kind of up in the air. Does Houston bring him back or not? What did you see from John Metchie that showed you what I'm saying? Hey, listen, y'all had all this worry about him playing and was he going to make the team? The worrying is over. He solidified his spot on his team.
What I seen from John Metchie was, once again, I guess this is going to be the buzzword for this episode, the confidence. His confidence was high. And once again, when D'Amico Ryans, and I'm a side note just for a second, when D'Amico Ryans got hired by the Houston Texans, they didn't just bring back a guy, a former player who used to play for the Texans. They didn't just bring back a guy who, was good at the linebacker position. They didn't just bring back a guy who had proven that he was a good coach when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. They brought a person into the building that they knew automatically would say, hey, I can rebuild guys. I can put confidence in guys. I can make guys. Azeez Al-Shaair, the linebacker that's here right now, he went undrafted. You know who said, I want him? D'Amico Ryans. And so what he does is he instills this confidence, and these players want to play for him. And so what they did last week was, the week prior, leading up to after the Hall of Fame game, leading up to their game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, when they practiced in Ohio, John Metchie had a terrible second day of practice. It's like one of the worst I've seen since I've been watching him practice. Davis Mills was worse than John Metchie. And I could tell that even leading up to that, there was just no chemistry amongst them. They could not connect. What Davis Mills and Xavier Hutchinson had, John Metchie and Davis Mills didn't have. But he had it with Case Keenum. He had it with Tim Boyle. And I don't know what the reason is. I mean, I could, speculate. I can guess. I know what I'm seeing out there. They're just not on the same page. And so when Davis Mills was allegedly hurt with sore ribs, CJ took first team reps and second team reps, and then they worked in Case Keenum. Tim Boyle got a couple of reps as well. But what they did was they let CJ work with that second unit. On that second unit is John Metchie.
Right.
And so it's almost like, how you got to go to the mechanic sometimes, or go to the tire shop and get your wheels aligned. You got to get them. You got to get your alignment back in, because your car may tend to go to the right or go to the left. That's what they did. They realigned John Metchie, put him with CJ, that connection that they have, and all of a sudden you just seen John get back into the groove of things. You seen John in and out of cuts. You seen him running the routes like very, very crisp routes. That translated and led into the game against the New York Giants, because when Case got into the game, him and John were him and Metchie, they were on the same page like every time. Like you said, he was targeted 7 times. He had 6 catches and a touchdown pass. And so there's a huge disconnect between John Metchie and Davis Mills that is not there when it comes to Case Keenum or even Tim Boyle. Now, really quickly, I do not like people saying, yeah, John Metchie was almost about to get cut. John Metchie was almost about to get traded. No, he was not.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, bro, it was crazy to me because Nick Caserio, the general manager, he's a very intelligent man. He's not dumb enough to say, you know what? I know I only got Stephon Diggs here for 1 year. He's an older wide receiver. I only got him here for 1 year, meaning I might not get him back next year. You know what? Let me just go ahead and get rid of Metchie. So I don't have a plan or a backup for next year. And Stephon Diggs, if Stephon Diggs leads the Texans to the Super Bowl, they ain't even got to win it. If he just leads them there, of course, he'll give them 3 years and an astronomical amount of money. But if they don't, they're going to need a replacement. And I can see what Stephon Diggs and his impact has done already to these wide receivers, especially Metchie. And maybe he's grooming him to take his spot next year. And so you don't get rid of a John Metchie, somebody who runs. Bro, the routes that he runs are amazing. He's in and out of routes all the time. So, man, I couldn't understand that, John.
Yeah. We're going to hear from Metchie on the other side of the break. Then we got to get into the running back group. It's time to have the conversation that a lot of us have been avoiding, but it's here. It's time. On the other side of the break, Dameon Pierce may not be this team's wide receiver. Running back 2, Cam Akers should get that role. We got more Locked On Texans on the other side. Passion, drive, and patience, the winning formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. I'm talking about your baby. I'm talking about your car. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, or all 3, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Here, take it. It don't fit, your money's there. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP of the road and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers.
is a veteran in this league. What have you learned from your time working with him?
I've learned a lot. I couldn't really sit here and tell y'all it'd take too long, but just how to play the game, how to approach it, how to approach practice, how to approach games, how to look at coverages. I think every conversation we have is like some wise shit, like they just giving you knowledge.
Yeah. And is that why you all have that certain connection on the field together like that as well?
Absolutely, for sure.
How will you enjoy this? Because you still have 3 weeks left. And
welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Big Sarge filling in for Cody Davis. He's up in Detroit doing Detroit things. We're down in Houston talking Texans, and that was John Metchie. You had an opportunity to hear from him post-game yesterday. But let's go ahead and transition where the conversation may get tough. And for my man X, last year you disapproved of my thoughts of Dameon Pierce, started from training camp. I knew what I saw. This year, I thought he came into training camp a lot better. But the reality of the situation, listeners and viewers, is there was not one running back who touched the ball yesterday that did not look better than Dameon Pierce. They all look better than Dameon Pierce. And I'm looking at the numbers right now. I'm sorry. There was not one running back who touched the ball that didn't look better. Did I say that? Did I say that right? There was not
you surely did. You surely did.
I said that right?
You definitely said it right. And you are right on point. Don't worry about it. Look, I understood what you said. The eye contact you were giving me at the game, during the game, every time Dameon Pierce touched the ball, I understood.
It was disappointing. I'm looking at J.J. Taylor, 5 carries, 36 yards, 7.2 yards per carry. Cam Akers, 6 carries, 29 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. British Brooks, 5 carries, 23 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 2 TDs. Jawar Jordan, 8 carries, 16 yards, 2 yards per carry. Didn't necessarily run the ball well. However, 4 catches, 42 yards out of the backfield. But Dameon Pierce, 4 carries, 5 yards, 1.3 yards per carry. Just didn't get it done on the day. I think we are here. Initially, when Cam Akers was brought in, I thought that this could just be potentially just a camp body. It happened right before Joe Mixon went out. But I went back and I said, you know what, guys? Cam Akers did play in some similar offenses. And one thing that Cam Akers brings to this team is the ability to cut up and go and get upfield. One cut is all he needs to get up the field. Had a very good run yesterday. When you see Cam run that ball, and when you see Dameon run the ball, and when you see the rookies run the ball, and when you see J.J. Taylor run the ball, I think it's obvious that at this point, Dameon Pierce just doesn't fit in this offense. And for Houston, they could afford that last year. There was no Super Bowl aspirations. Though at the end of the year, it was playoff aspirations. It was winning the AFC South aspirations. But now this is a different team, Sarge. The expectations are incredibly higher. And the reality is Dameon just doesn't fit these expectations.
Yeah, and look, before I get into Dameon Pierce, I'm going to also need J.J. Taylor to work on his breakaway speed because, I mean, there's
94 shouldn't have called him.
At all.
So you know what? Now that's prejudice. We can do it. We can do it all. We can chase him down.
He chased him down, man. I was like, wait a minute. You're not supposed to get chased down like that. But, this was a real tough one for me.
Tough one. And this is not a shot at the person.
Right.
It's strictly about the play. And when I looked at Dameon Pierce, I said, man, you know what? And I think you read my mind before I said it. He is back in his own head.
Yes. And that's why I say, man, it's difficult because from a human aspect, I look at Dameon Pierce and I was like, man, this guy is one of the funniest guys in the locker room, one of the coolest guys in the locker room. He when he gets to talking, it's almost like you're sitting down having a drink at the bar with somebody you've been knowing all your life. But on the field, from a football perspective, and that's what we get paid to do. We get paid to talk about football. Dameon Pierce, you're right. He's back in his own head, and I don't understand why. He's going into the second season in this offense. He should understand that patience is a virtue, right? Be patient, not timid. Patient, not timid. And the one thing that the other running backs do better, and I'm not talking about excluding Joe Mixon, but the running backs that you talked about, they're patient and they wait and then they go. It's almost as if, yes, they attack. It's almost as if Dameon Pierce can't bruise his way through a hole, then he's just gonna run right there and then just get tackled instead of waiting on, okay, I'm going this way, but I know in this offense, because I've been told plenty of times by former running back Mike Boone, by former running back Devin Singletary, who's played in this system, who played in similar systems, right? Hey, wait for the backside to open up. But Dameon is either being timid at the line and almost like just chopping his feet in place, or he's not getting, where he needs to be. These other running backs who are trying, I put it like this: Cam Akers knows what it's like to have been a part of the NFL, then be out of the NFL, and now trying to get back into the NFL. Jawar Jordan, he's a rookie. British Brooks trying to make the team. J.J. Taylor trying to make the team. I know that Dameon Pierce doesn't have it in his mind that he's already solidified that RB2 position, but he's going to have to show more, because if not, hey, I'm with you. Cam Akers has to be put into that position to back up Joe Mixon because of the way that he's been producing. Not only producing on the field, but as I watch him in training camp, the more reps he gets, the better he looks.
And this is a point that I desperately want to make, because with Joe Mixon, this will be Mixon's 8th year, 9th year. Mixon has been in the league for a while, and Mixon hasn't played behind the more talented offensive lines in the NFL.
7th year
in the NFL, right? A lot of that's a lot on your body. But there's going to be moments and times where Mixon needs to come out of the game. Your running back needs to at least be able to come close to replicating the success of whatever the offense was able to put out there on the field, that product, when they come into the game, right?
He couldn't even do that last year behind Motor.
And that's when we lost the spot. But I don't want to necessarily look at last year. We go right to Saturday's game. When the offense was flowing, when it stopped, aside from the 2 offensive penalties on the first team with CJ, they had 2 penalties that they had to call back. When the offense stopped flowing, it was due to no gain by Dameon Pierce. 2-yard gain by Dameon Pierce. No gain by Dameon Pierce. Compared to when it was Cam Akers, 4.8 yards per carry. J.J. Taylor, 7.2 yards per carry. British Brooks, at the end of the game, 4.6 yards per carry. And Dameon's best attribute as a runner is being able to be effective once he gets to the second level, but he's not getting those opportunities because I don't know how much they trust him to dump the ball off in the passing game, as to where I'm looking at Jawar Jordan, 4 catches, 42 yards. So now the conversation gets to it's what can you do for us when our starting running back, who we traded a 7th rounder for, also extended for 3 years, whenever we got to pull him out, what are you able to do for us? And getting an opportunity to play with the first team. I know there was no Laramie Tunsil. He broke off a couple of big runs at practice this week on Laramie's side when he was at practice. But Mason, Howard played well. Green and Juice, 4 out of the 5 are out there. The production wasn't there. And I had an opportunity to ask D'Amico Ronson, hey, man, how does that change things? He said, still a tight competition. The competition continues to press forward. That's a great way to protect your player. As a former player, he's a player's coach. But I just can't see Dameon Pierce being the second running back on this roster moving forward.
And real quick, John, before they come for you in the comments, because they're going to say, well, those other running backs were playing against guys who may not be in the league come 2 weeks. Oh, when you talk about these guys, they're playing against backups to the backups. No, what I noticed by watching these running backs that came in the game after Dameon Pierce was the same thing that you noticed as well. We're not looking at the competition and who they're playing against. We're watching the way they run. Yeah. We're watching the way when they get the ball. It doesn't matter who's in front of them, who's coming for them. We're watching the way they run the ball. We're watching the way that they cut. We're watching the way that they're watching the way the offensive line flows. So before anyone can say, well, they're playing against guys who are going to be working at Best Buy in 2 weeks. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the running style. Exactly.
It's about making the most of your opportunities. And last week I said, hey, guys, he ran to the right side. I kind of questioned Bobby Slorg for all those attempts to that right side of the line that was clearly not able to do anything. And, Nick Broker and Chris Reed were just god-awful. So I made that excuse because I thought that was valid. The opportunities were there. There was one play I think John Metchie did a hell of a job blocking off his defender, and the outside lane was there, kind of like last week with Nico Collins, and the outside lane was there. Instead of bouncing out, you bruised in.
Yeah.
You cannot trust a player if the drop-off is significantly bad when I got to give my starter a break. And that's the difference between a John Metchie and a Dameon Pierce when discussing role on the depth chart. Who do you trust more if I got to pull a tank and put John out there, if I got to pull Joe and I got to put DP out there?
Yeah,
I
totally agree.
We got rapid fires on the other side of the break. You gonna like this, Sarge, because we talk about the running back position. It's two youngins that I really like for this team. Maybe not now, maybe for the future. Who knows? But we got more Locked On Texans on the way. Don't go nowhere. It's gonna get fun here. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you guys, our Locked On Texans family members. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get 3 weeks free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market games this year. All you need is a Google account. Who don't have a Google account, and a current form of payment. You can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. It's the John Hickman and Big Sarge show today to open up your Monday. We're going to have a good week. We're not going to worry about the past. We're going to focus on the future. But I got some questions I'm going to throw out at Sarge. Sarge, you ready?
Yeah, what I win, though? Like, can I get Popeyes or something? Or what a Chick-fil-A gift card? What I'm winning?
Let the listeners decide what you win.
For sure.
They going to decide what you win. I'm just going to ask the question. And the first one off the top of the list, because we talked about John Metchie. When you think of the backup quarterback position, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Go.
Need more talent.
Okay. Through camp and preseason, who's been more impressive, Jawad Jordan or British Brooks? And could this tandem be the future Arian Foster and Ben Tate for the Houston Texans?
I won't go that far as to say Foster and Tate, but Jordan has been more impressive. He has looked more explosive. And he knows how to find the gaps. And because of his size, his stature, but his powerful and his explosiveness, he's able to get to wherever he needs to get.
One word to describe King and Green, the 76 version. Go.
Amazing.
5 words to describe the first team offense.
They look very good Saturday.
That's 5. That's a lame 5. But don't.
Okay, so you want 5? All right, let me
give you 5. Come on,
look, give me 5.
Give me Sarge 5.
You want 5? That offense is unstoppable. That offense is a top 3. Don't put it in the top 5. You put it in the top 3. And that's only because you still got Superman and Patrick Mahomes. And I'm curious to see what Baltimore is going to do. They're going to have a really good offense as well. But no, that's the top 3 right there. You could say top 2 because Superman, he getting his CJ's pulling on that cape.
Okay, so this question going to lead us into tomorrow's show. One word to describe Derek Stingley.
Island.
Oh! you, and make sure you guys listen to tomorrow's show. Big Sarge and myself, we're going to be diving into the defense. I think that's going to be a whole hell of a lot funner because the questions surrounding whether was John Metchie going to make the roster, what's going on. We had a lot of those questions and looking at Jalen Petrie. But I'll tell you what, I think those questions are answered as well. So make sure y'all come back tomorrow to watch more of the Lockedon Texans podcast. I'm your host, John, some sports guy Hickman. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. And please subscribe, like, and comment to the Lockedon Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Sarge, where can they find you and all of your great work?
You can find me at Big Sarge Sports at the app formerly known as Twitter. And you can follow all of my articles on www.bigsargemedia.com.
Until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday. Don't let the Monday beat you, treat you. Do right by yourself. Peace.